So we'll get the special meeting going this evening. We did have a sign-up sheet. The only reason I wanted the sign-up sheet was for just a number to know how many people, roughly 30 signed up, so we'll keep it to a 3-minute speech tonight. You know, if there had been 100 sign up, we would have looked at maybe a different number. So at this point in time, I'd like you all to rise, and we're going to have Pledge of Allegiance up to the front of the room here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I guess business first off, I would like to know, we're getting some feedback. Can everybody hear me okay? Because we're going to probably turn it down just a little bit to try to control some of that. Are we still good?
Yeah.
Okay, roll call please.
Rhodes.
Present.
Bowman.
Present.
Ott.
Here.
Sykes.
Present.
Obermeyer.
Present. Okay, open meetings law is on the front table up here if anybody'd like a look at it. It is also on our website. Proof of publication for this meeting was in the York News Times. Where is the date? June 7th, and it was also on our website. Next up, we need to review and approve the minutes of the June 11th Board of Commissioner meeting.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Obermeyer.
Yes, and we need to adopt today's agenda.
Move to adopt.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bowman.
Yes.
Rhodes.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Obermeyer.
Yes. Okay, the reason for tonight's meeting is to hold a public hearing. According to our zoning rules, we need to hold a public hearing and have input from the public. Just a forewarning, this is public comment only. This is not a Q&A session tonight. This is to give comments for or against the proposed regulations that were brought forward after the April 2nd meeting of the Board of Commissioners. If there are any more Q&A that is needed, then I would ask that you would talk to the commissioners of your choice, all of us, at a later time. And usually we have our nameplates in front of us. To my very far right is Commissioner Leroy Ott, Commissioner Jack Sykes, York County Clerk Kelly Turner, myself, I am Randy Obermeyer, Daniel Groats, just to my left, brand new to the board is Andy Bowman, and then Nate Hines, which serves as our zoning administrator. We will be going tonight on a 3-minute testimony time. We do have a little light here, that way we're not yelling what time it is, or you have 20 seconds left. It will go in the format of green, you know, obviously you're good, yellow, you're running out of time, and red, your time is up. As with all these other meetings in the past, they have been very civil, and I expect that to continue tonight. York County seems to have risen above what I hear from my counterparts across the state. There have been meetings that have been halted and canceled and asked people to leave. I don't see that happening tonight, but just be respectful for everybody in the room. Like I say, whether you're for or against the regulations. And with that being said, once again, we did have a sign-in. We're not going in the order of it. You can rise, whoever wants to, and we will get this thing going. There we go.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Javier Fernandez. I'm the President and CEO of the Omaha Public Power District. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you tonight. The proposed zoning regulations are highly restrictive and unsuitable for supporting utility-scale solar development. The current regulations contemplate a 2,640-foot setback from neighboring homes and a 660-foot setback from non-participating properties like cornfields. These laws are entirely unreasonable and detrimental to solar development. It is imperative that these regulations be reevaluated so they do not hinder the growth of crucial energy projects in our state. As Nebraskans, we have a history of finding solutions through compromise. We believe that a fair compromise on Class 4 solar setbacks can be reached, benefiting everyone involved. For example, a 660-foot setback from non-participating neighbors with homes and a 150-foot setback from non-participating properties that don't have dwellings. Reasonable regulations can provide a solid foundation for responsible project development. OPPD has a rich history of supporting thriving communities such as York County. Renewable energy generation can entice new business developments and expansions, establish reliable sources of income for landowners, and offer extensive community benefits to your residents. These benefits are practical and feasible. On March 5th, I pledged to this commission, along with our chair of the board, that we would transfer the K-Junction project to a private developer. And we delivered a signed commitment letter. By taking this action, we can unlock the full potential of the nameplate capacity tax benefits and directly contribute millions to the county schools, and first responders. This is a crucial opportunity to make a positive impact in our community and ensure that we maximize our resources for the greater good. Let's seize this chance to create a brighter future for all. It is imperative to understand that integrating these benefits is impossible without practical regulations. Hence, it is crucial to work together towards a common goal of enacting reasonable regulations through compromise for the county's benefit. We are dedicated to transparent communication and collaborating with the community as we assess the feasibility of K-Junction. And we encourage this board to modify the proposed zoning regulations to foster development and economic progress for all residents of York County. Thank you so much for your attention, and we'll be glad to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Javier.
Give you who I am and where I'm from.
Just who you are, it'd be great, Roger.
Roger Morris. I've got a few questions that these so-called experts, that kind of upset me about scare tactics. Well, what are we going to do if you don't, and what we're going to do for this? And go back to this 660-foot setback. That's not near enough for the farmers that own this property and want to put grain storage or machine shed up. And when you put a grain storage up, it takes a lot of room to get those semis in and out of that facility. Another question, 2,800 acres are the breadbasket of the world. Crops raised here for food, alcohol, livestock feed, human food, and so forth. Which gives more revenue, you follow that on down, gives more revenue than what this solar farm is going to generate. And I just wonder what, if the government subsidy would disappear, I wonder how many of these solar units would be moved forward. Also, the project west of Lincoln was covered with snow for 6 days that I know of. How much electricity does that project generate with it covered with snow? Local businesses would suffer. What upsets me about this whole thing, it split McCool Junction right down the center. And I don't like that because McCool Junction's always been a friendly town and people got along, but not anymore. And that's a shame. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Roger.
Letter of food.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug Ritt, dear York County Commissioners. York County is the site of Collins Aerospace's largest facility in Nebraska and home to many of our employees, including me. On behalf of my colleagues, I would like to thank you for your service to your community and for your ongoing efforts to keep it safe and thriving. As a resident and business leader, it has come to my attention that new zoning regulations for solar development are being considered. In undertaking this effort, it is my hope that you will support reasonable regulations that protect our community while also allowing York County to grow. In particular, setback requirements are an important element of zoning that keeps us safe and warrant thoughtful consideration before any kind of development is approved. However, they should not be so overly burdensome that they keep York County from benefiting from new opportunities for investment. A fair compromise on solar setbacks is possible without jeopardizing safety. For instance, a 660-foot setback, about twice the size of a football field, from non-participating residential neighbors, and a 150-foot setback from non-participating non-residential properties seem appropriate for Class 4 applications. This kind of a compromise achieves strong regulation in response to community feedback while respecting landowner rights and ensuring local schools, businesses, and government can receive millions of dollars in economic development and tax benefits. While Collins Aerospace does not currently plan to install a solar field at our facility in York, we have made such investments at our facilities across the country. These installations are bringing renewable energy into our operations, supporting improved reliability of our energy resources, and reducing costs. In many cases, our solar installations help power other businesses and neighborhoods in the area. Done in collaboration with community partners, these projects also benefit the community in the way of jobs, revenue, and innovation. Solar projects in York County stand to offer the same. York County can maintain its charm by also inviting the benefits of solar development, and my wish is to see our community continue to embrace both. Opportunities for our community to benefit from renewable energy helps keep us strong and nimble during a time of growing demand for electricity in our state. Thank you again for your efforts to support safe, reasonable regulations and to create a brighter future for York County.
Thank you, Doug. Name me, Gary.
Gary Garnett, Agricultural Junction, live south and west. I'd like to say something about agriculture. It seems like nothing gets said too much about that. It's all solar, what have you. York County's been an agriculture county for a long time. #1 corn producing county in the state of Nebraska, which will probably change. But you wonder how did all this come about where agriculture kind of just got this second fiddle here. And it seems to me like I was on the zoning board sometime, it's been a while back. But at that time, we watched the residential stayed residential and agriculture stayed agriculture, industry stayed industry, and if anybody crossed lines, you better have a reason for it. And it just seems like agriculture is really getting down the road on this one. Because I look at how did this come about in here, in some of the top producing ground around, and I look at it seems like investors has just been the biggest motive to it. I know across from me it's land, First Trust Cornerstone was the first to go solar. And then the other investors like Pete Corporation came and went right along with it. And then everybody followed, because you see, agriculture can't compete with industry. They'll have dollars every time. When they came in on this one, they came in at 3 times the amount of money that you can farm it out of this land. And it just doesn't seem right to me that this should change like that. As far as setbacks and talk about all that, it's just smoke and mirrors to me. Because if you go around any large solar systems, very large ones, you'll find there's nobody living around them. There's no industry around them. They're just sitting there. And I think this would be the same way. I think people would leave that, not right away, but they would leave this territory too rather than live around all this. There's 7 or 8 young families have acreages around this thing, and it's just devastating, you know, to see it go in there. And you know that other people aren't gonna wanna come and put an acreage or something around the solar site, you know, that don't ever happen. And, as far as setbacks and what have you, it's just smoke and mirrors. And, I guess that's all I wanna say is to kind of keep agriculture in mind, because we do like to eat, and you know, we've had affordable food in this country for a long time. And urban sprawl takes out acres and acres every year of farm ground in the United States. And then to come into the territory of the top farm ground of York County and take that over, it's just devastating to me. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Gary.
Jason Balaban. I just thought I'd throw out the numbers as far as corn acres. 5,100 acres and an average is producing around 1.2 million bushels of corn every year, or soybeans, about 400,000, all of which either go to local food, ethanol, soy biodiesel, animal food, which in turn feeds us all. Solar panels are not indestructible. That was proven majorly last year and the year before in Scotts Bluff, in Texas earlier this year. As an electrician that worked 20 years, I promise you there's a lot of dangerous chemicals inside of those solar panels. And when they break and they lay on the ground, they will be absorbed just like chemicals are absorbed. So to say that they're safe is just not true. The energy, MPPD has zero interest in buying any of that energy. It will not benefit us at all on our electrical bills. It probably won't help us on our property taxes, as has been proven by the current new assessments of our local property values. They just keep jacking them, so a little bit of property tax relief isn't going to benefit anybody around here. The numbers are presented by the University of Nebraska, which is a very biased green energy company in themselves, who are supported by these companies that are pushing for these solar panels. Kearney produced an $11 million solar farm several years ago, strictly for the city of Kearney. And at $11 million, their maximum estimate was it would produce 5% of the city's energy. $11 million for 5%. They don't produce what they say. They don't benefit the local people. They bring in outside contractors to build these facilities. It's not worth it. Stick with the strict guidelines, stick with the strict setbacks, and protect our agriculture.
Thanks, Jason.
Hello, my name is Eric Thompson. I'm a faculty member with the University of Nebraska, and just did develop a report on the K-Junction Solar Project, which I'd like to summarize for you in this 3 minutes that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. First of all, I can only speak to the economic issues in this project. Of course, there are some other issues under consideration, zoning and so forth. I did use a net impact approach, so recognizing that this land is being put to productive and valuable use currently, but tried to show the additional economic activity above and beyond what's currently occurring. Our estimate was that each acre would produce a little bit more than $5,000 in additional dollars of revenue being used for a solar facility over agricultural purposes. And this would have economic impacts on the regional economy. Now, projects like this typically have a development period that's very intensive. We found about $185 million impact during that period, or 600 jobs. But probably more, at least as much interest is sort of the ongoing impact in the years that follow. And that impact is found to be about 6 jobs in the community, and those are outside of the solar farm. So for other businesses in the community, a net impact of 6 jobs above what's found now, about $15 million in revenue, and then $1.2 million in terms of local property sales or nameplate tax. So that's my summary of the report, which I believe is available as a handout today for people who are interested in looking at.
Okay, thank you. For any of you that are sitting in the back, there are a couple chairs up front here if you want to come all the way up front, and I believe, or there's still some chairs in the hallway that we can grab too if you don't want to sit this or stand this whole time. So just so you know, I see 3 empties up here. I'm sure they will move their phones for you if you ask.
Just don't tell them who's sitting there.
Joanne Jackson, Fairmont, Nebraska, York County. In 2021, the York County Commissioners passed a resolution which they strongly stated their opposition to the creation of a national heritage area in Nebraska. According to the York News Times, the Commissioners continued their resolution. A national heritage area designation invites interference in local affairs by special interest groups who claim to be stakeholders, such as groups who do not have the historical perspective or deeply felt stewardship responsibilities of owners who have worked the land over several generations. Are there any NGOs, non-governmental organizations here this evening that claim to be stakeholders, eroding decision-making regarding our land and community? Why should one of these organizations determine what are best practices for solar setbacks in York County? There has to be an origin for best practices too. And from my research, I believe the origin is from the American Planning Association, an accredited member of the Economic and Social Council of the UN since 1997. John Rose says that the case for industrial solar and lease others' property rights are important. However, their rights have their limits. They do not have an entitled right to be knowing causal agent of adverse health effects to their neighbors, or devaluing proximate homes, or of crop yield reductions to nearby farms, of causing pollution and other interference with aquifers, of harm to wildlife and livestock in the community, of degrading the ecosystem in the area, of impacting hunting or proximate lands, of interfering with regional weather and navigation radar. It is your statutory obligation to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Hayes Township. We've heard several of you say that you want young families to move back here. Do you know how hard it is for us to hear our son say he wishes he wouldn't have moved back here if he would have known that there would be a section of land put into solar panels directly across from his home? Thank you for allowing public comment. We have been fortunate to live in the city that York says is the most productive and fertile farmland in America. OPD's Community Connect says York County's vast farmland, robust corn and ethanol production, and rich history is cherished by all who call it home.
Thank you, Joanne.
Gene Jackson, Hayes Township. About 3 weeks ago, I was in this very room. Governor Pillen was in here and gave a town hall meeting. He told us to protect our local businesses, protect our grasslands, our most productive crops, crop ground, and what's produced here. I asked him a question. I said, would you trade dollars for water, for bushels of corn, for bushels of soybeans? His answer was no. He said Omaha and Lincoln had plenty of acres on top of buildings and parking lots to satisfy the solar panels. Okay, let's talk about Nebraska neighbors, best Nebraska neighbors. Let's talk about the city of York. The city of York has in their possession 600 acres of grassland right here on the east side. It's all cleared off. Excellent place to put solar panels. Then let's talk about setbacks. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
Morris Wires. I'm a relatively recent resident of York County. What hasn't been spoken of a lot yet this evening is the costs versus benefits of this project. In each case, each of these costs, each of these benefits are estimates, in many cases speculative, and in all cases, depend on your perspective, whether you're a landowner or a user of electricity or whatever. Each of these estimates depend on a long-term perspective. If the benefit is environmental, your perspective is going to be different from the cost of the electricity or the cultural impact that you have on your community. In many cases, these perspective is influenced by what side of the political spectrum you are on. All of these questions don't have clear answers, and it's hard to put a number on each one of those. So I would suggest that the members of York County should not be the ones that bear all this speculative philosophy. If the benefits are so overwhelming, if OPPD sees it that way, then, as was suggested earlier, put them on top of their buildings in the Omaha area or whatever. Let the people of Omaha benefit from the benefits that are there and take the risks on the costs that are there. Those risks and costs should not be the burden of people in York County. Thank you.
Thank you, Morris.
Jim Jackson, Fairmont, I live in Hayes Township. I don't know where to start on this. We've been messing around with this for 3 years, and now all of a sudden we finally have some zoning rules, and this outfit comes in and says they can't handle it. Okay, Douglas County. Now I'll go back to OPPD. They have 13 counties. You know how many acres of farmland are left in Douglas County? 52,000. And they're gonna tell us how we're gonna farm, how we're gonna live, and everybody that thinks solar panels are so wonderful, I'll bet you said 90% of the people in York County were in favor of it. I would wager you that 89% of those that are in favor don't have to worry about having the panels in their backyard or their front yard, or right out the door. We're talking in our neighborhood, my son lives in section 28, section 21, 640 acres of panels right there. You know what they do to the ground? They take out all the trees, they scrape it. One more thing they need to know, those dry creeks in there sometimes turn into rivers, and they'll go over the roads. And you know where they're gonna be if you got them down in the floodplains, and we don't have any floodplain maps for most of these dry creeks. But anyway, if you wanna have your own solar panels, you can put them in your county, or else we can come down and tell you what kind of business you could have. How would you like that? Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Hi guys.
Hi, Brian.
Most of you heard from me already, Brian Sokup. I do live right kind of in the epicenter of this. We have an acreage that's, if it goes through, we'll be surrounded by this, so I have a stake in it, I guess. We live on 1006 Road 4, McCool. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I wrote what I can here, but I kind of ran out of time, so I'll wing part of it. First, I'd like to state in favor of the existing proposed setbacks for non-participating and residents and non-participating landowners. I believe our qualified zoning board put a lot of time in and effort drawing these up. Thank you to them for that time. Without them, what's the point if we're not going to take what they say into the name? Second, I'd like to be able to clarify a couple things in reference to this project. I have talked to a couple people that were surveyed on this. None of them were under the understanding of what this project entailed. That it was more of an industrial project. They were under the understanding that they can't put solar panels in their backyard. They can't put them on their house. That's where the restriction's gonna be. And out of 20 people I probably asked, 2 of them are only ones that were surveyed, and they live in the city of York. So I'm not sure where that survey was taken, how it was taken, but I'll leave it at that on that. This is a vast project, will cover a large portion of the ground and affect many non-participating residents. These are the families that this project will affect directly and most definitely negatively. If setbacks are set to where OPPD would like them, the values of properties will definitely decline drastically. There are many reasons the setbacks proposed by OPPD would decimate this area of York County and the people living in the area. And I think some of these other folks made that clear. On that note, I'm not sure how OPPD has the right to try and dictate what fair setbacks are. We decide what fair setbacks are. We have a zoning committee to decide what fair setbacks are. Omaha attempting to build confinement, or we can go to Omaha, just like some of these other guys said. Let's go and build a hog confinement or a cattle lot 660 feet from their homes. Because I guarantee some of these people talking have million-dollar homes, multi-million-dollar homes. We're not going to be able to build nothing there. We have no say in there. Why do they have a say coming into our county and force themselves on it? The money they spend on ads in this area is ridiculous. I know everybody in here, anybody with social media, anything like that, it is 100% swamped with ads from OPPD. We do not have the funds to do that. But we're the ones that are directly affected by this. The people living there are the ones directly affected by this. It means a lot to me to stand up here. I apologize for taking too long, I guess, but there's a lot more I can say. I'll let it go with that.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
Nate, what is that? Okay. Nate also serves as our attorney, and whether we like it or not, he's saying that the open meetings law states that clapping and stuff cannot happen. I'll take his advice on that and just ask people refrain, whether you agree with him or not. Just keep that to yourself, please. Next one up.
My name's Warble Stewart, and I live by Waco, so
I'm distant from what's happening in McCool, but regarding setbacks, and what I'm thinking a guy would want to consider on the setbacks would be something similar to what they've got around the city landfill. They got enough room to plant trees around it, which would maybe buffer some of the visual issues that people might have with a solar farm adjacent to their property. The trees sort of go along with the green energy concept of solar too, so that all sort of all ties together. As far as setbacks, several years ago they had a big deal with livestock zoning in York County. A lot of input regarding setbacks and all the stuff that went on trying to separate livestock from people that don't necessarily have livestock. A lot of the things that were said regarding setbacks, once it was all said and done and they were put in the rules and regulations, didn't necessarily materialize. I mean, there wasn't, the smells weren't what people were scared or bringing up. The fly problems weren't what people were bringing. A lot of things didn't necessarily materialize that they said was, a lot of people said was going to be a big problem with that. People who own their properties with livestock have more opportunity to put that property to good use as far as financially decisions go. These zoning setbacks for this particular type of a project, solar, if you make them too restrictive, the people who have the properties get really limited on their opportunities to make money on property that they own. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurel.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Genevieve Tonages. I'm a lifelong resident of York County and the sixth generation to inherit the family farm in Thayer, Nebraska. I do understand the importance of land, legacy, and stewardship, and I am not naive to the importance of preserving good Nebraska farm ground. However, I am here today because I have concerns regarding the impact which these proposed zoning regulations may have on our community. For as long as we can all remember, we've heard about brain drain. The young people are leaving rural Nebraska communities and are migrating to the metropolitan areas, or worse, leaving Nebraska entirely. Many people my age have left, primarily because there are not enough jobs if you want to work outside of the agricultural sector. Of course, we are primarily an agricultural community, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But bottlenecking our local industries forces a lot of people to move to where they can find work, inadvertently ensuring this brain drain. As a young person who is set to inherit this community, I have concerns regarding the debate and controversy surrounding the K-Junction solar project. If our governing bodies want the young population to come back, if you don't want your grandkids to grow up in Lincoln, why are they edging new industry out of the county, thusly eliminating these new jobs? How many other industries had their sights once set on York County and promptly decided against this location due to the negative response and red tape the solar project has encountered? Opening this community to new investment opportunities, diverse industries, and fresh ideas is integral to York County's growth, future, and prosperity. I'd like to think I'm doing my part to keep our community alive and thriving. I was overjoyed to come back and put down roots here, and I would like some of my younger friends to be able to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lisa Hurley, and I'm the Executive Director with York County Development Corporation. My address is 601 North Lincoln Avenue, York, Nebraska. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As your economic developer, I see projects eyeing regions with mixed energy sources, from coal to renewables. Companies also favor states boosting electric production because low available load is a risk factor to their growth and speed to market. As a state, I'm talking broadly, but as a state, we need to grow our energy production to stay competitive, attract our expansion projects, and recruit new businesses. I also believe the participating landowners have the right to make decisions and enter into business contracts to begin with. I had hoped that this discussion through the process around solar zoning regulations would focus on the bigger picture as our county-wide solar regulations and not just on one project. I believe the proposed zoning regulations set a precedence for overall stricter zoning regulations in the future. These will become a barrier to development, and that becomes a problem as we try to grow our county. Strict zoning can stifle growth, hurting our tax base. Businesses need clear, timely regulations and avoid communities that overregulate. One local company who is not here tonight is considering installing solar panels as part of their expansion. If they choose a location outside of a municipal jurisdiction, they will not be able to make this investment in York County. That limits where they're able to go. I hope you adopt codes that establish rules to keep us safe while embracing new opportunities for our county. Zoning should first protect public health, safety, and welfare. We can do this by tailoring best practices to our needs. In the past, we have asked you to follow the Center for Rural Affairs recommendations more closely. I watched the meeting where Randy and Leroy advocated for a compromise. I would be supportive of that. I did notice and want to mention that the proposed setbacks require a larger footprint overall for projects from Class 2 to Class 4. I believe these proposed zoning ordinances will have unintended consequences, making it difficult for all businesses, including farmers, within the county zoning areas to utilize solar on their buildings. I'm asking you to hit pause, look at the regulations in more depth, and then I have been asked to submit letters from the Nebraska Chamber and Southeast Community College.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. Take a minute.
Good evening. I am John Hanson. I am the president of Nebraska Farmers Union, and I have been working on planning and zoning issues ever since I helped create the planning and zoning system in Madison County in the mid-'70s. And I've been working on rural economic development since I was first elected to public office at the local level in 1974. So fair to say, I have some experience in these areas. As the president of a farm organization, we are in the middle of these issues because in our view, we fully recognize that there are real advantages to value-added agriculture. And so if you think about the things that we've done to help ourselves, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, take advantage of all the resources that we have, the things that we produce or the things that we control, anytime we can add value to those things, that's a plus for agriculture. And so if you think about what we've done, we normally think about ethanol. Our organization championed ethanol going back to the mid-1940s. We helped establish a lot of the Nebraska Ethanol Board. We've been in the middle of the biodiesel stuff. We're in the middle of all of those things, but we're in the middle of wind and solar for the very same reasons. Because these are natural resources that we own and we control, and we have the opportunity to add value to them as landowners. We also firmly believe that there are real issues involved about private property ownership and use. And so having been in the middle of planning and zoning battles. I work pipelines, I work livestock facilities, I work renewable energy. So if you can come up with a common answer for all three of those different things that all make sense for the other two things, good luck. And so you look at the big picture, but you can't solve private property right conflicts by taking away one set of private property rights and giving them all to the other side. You have to mitigate, you have to share. That's compromise, that's what we have to do. So what I could suggest, based on what I've read and what I've seen, is this set of recommendations. Do you have this set that came from the Center for Infrastructure and Economic Development? If not, I'll give you my copy. But I thought their set of recommendations were fair, were reasonable, were in the middle of the road. But make no mistake about it, renewable energy is agricultural in nature. And our organization understands that, we believe that. Every single renewable energy project in the state of Nebraska is built one willing landowner who looked at their options and made the decision themselves about what was in their best and highest use for the land that they own and control. And that's really what we're about. So when you use excessive regulations that restrict projects, well, there goes the private property rights.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Did you just, let me just make sure you have a copy of this.
We do.
You got that?
Yeah, but you can leave it here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Bill Donovan from McFadden Township, 1312 Road 6, just a half mile from Hayes, which has the proposed solar project. It's plain to see that the large interest in solar project zoning is not due to residents of York County, especially those in Hayes Township initiating an energy project. It is here due to an outside foreign corporation discovering a weak spot where a large industrial solar project could be sited. Similar to like those that I traveled to see in southeast Arkansas and northern Louisiana. And like other people have said, there is nothing else around these installations, some of which were several thousand acres. This foreign corporation, EDF, went on financial skids, then was taken over by the government of France, their new partner, and soon to be ours. But then the project was transferred to OPPD, a public entity which has eminent domain power and may likely be exempt from property taxes. Now, I'd like to give an example of crop rotation. Corn was rotated in the past with wheat, barley, forages for horses. Then milo was tried. Then soybeans came as a new crop. The rotations benefit each crop as the fertility is shared, pest insects are dissipated, and other advantages. So how will rotating to solar benefit the land? When net losses occur, temporary subsidies are removed. When a project is removed or abandoned, it will be leaving concrete supports and construction detritus covering several thousand acres with numerous rows of rock lanes, noxious weeds. It will be a very difficult place to rehabilitate. Just as a final thing, I noticed, as we're talking about zoning regulations, there was a little comment about no more than 1% or 3% of the ag land in York County will be allowed to be covered with solar installations. I just noticed that as one of many lines and read through paragraph after paragraph. But I think it'd rather say no more than 1% or 3% of any other sub-district, school districts in particular, fire districts, power districts, no more than 1% of those would be covered by solar. That's a small correction. might help us out. And thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Chuck Myers. As many of you know, I'm on the Board of Governors for Southeast. I know what their position letter says. I talked to President Ilitch, and he knows that I don't. I support what they said, but I have my own stance on the project. As a veteran who served all my time on submarines, I know about power generation quite a bit. And I know that solar generation is the least efficient means of energy production. Granted, I was on nuclear submarines, and I'd be an advocate for nuclear power. You could do 100 times the power in 5% of the property. The zoning regulations as they're written, as I see them, are, in my mind, kind of excessive, but then again, I can see the substation that they plan to go into from my house in the winter when the leaves are off the trees. I've already seen the farmers live in the area start cutting out the hedgerows and stuff like that, which attract the wildlife. I know because I hunt the 9 acres on the other side of the highway every year, and there's already been a detriment because of that, and that's less than half a mile from the project. There was no deer this year, none. We're already starting to see an impact from people, and it's like the only thing that I see that the zoning board did was let's make it tough. Granted, I, as a former plant engineer at York Cold Storage, and I've seen how businesses wanted to come in. I listen to things, and I see the anti-business rhetoric that comes out of York County because of zoning. But sometimes I think we need to look at the big picture and say, what's best? I think maybe a little bit of compromise is available. You know, I think the zone 4 is way excessive. But if you want to do it and make it so you don't have zoning, why don't you just say, hey, it's outlaw all zoning, all solar, you don't have to worry about it. We'll just outlaw all power generation in the county. And it includes that little solar powered light you got sitting on your front step. And go from there.
Thanks, Chuck.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Matt Core, and I'm a member of OPPD's Board of Directors representing District 4, which spans from Sarpy County all the way south through Cass, Odo, Johnson, Nemaha, Pawnee, and Richardson counties. I live in Papillion with my wife and 4 children and have served with the Sarpy County Sheriff's Office for the past 15 years as a deputy sheriff. My career and interests focus on helping Nebraska communities continue to flourish by providing essential services that keep us safe and allow us to grow. I value prudent, well-considered solutions that safeguard Nebraska's opportunities to thrive into the future. OPPD, like the electric industry as a whole, is facing unprecedented growth in power demand. We must ensure that we have a diverse and sustainable supply of energy sources to continue providing power to our customers without interruption. Solar energy is an integral part of that diverse mix. As you know by now, the proposed solar facility, if constructed, can provide up to 310 megawatts of low-cost power to Nebraskans. This would expand OPPD's power generation assets to help meet increasing demand and support reliability and electrical grid resiliency right here in York County. By supporting reasonable regulations for safe solar development, York County can improve the electrical system and generate millions of dollars for schools, roads, and first responders like myself. Additionally, reasonable regulations allow property owners to use their land for the county's benefit. Imposing excessive restrictions undermines personal freedoms without due process. A project like K-Junction Solar is projected to bring more than $610 million in net economic benefits to McCool Junction and York County over the project's lifetime, and generate over $30 million in local tax revenue to realize property tax relief. Throughout the initial construction phase, York County is anticipated to experience a net economic impact of $185 million, with local businesses receiving nearly $54 million in additional revenues. These substantial benefits and significant tax revenues are possible when we collaboratively work to find alignment with zoning regulations. As an elected representative of OPPD, I assure you that we are committed to working alongside your community as a long-term partner in York County, effectively serving everyone. In closing, we believe solar development is a win not only for OPPD, but also York County and the state of Nebraska. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Stephen?
Stephen Postier. I wasn't going to talk, but I had some just quick things I wanted to add. There's been a lot of good stuff said, focus on the zoning, both for and against, and I don't want to repeat a lot of that stuff. But I'm a big believer in economic development, growth for our county and for our communities, trying to bring young families back to our communities. I think it's an important part. I'm a big proponent of agriculture, not only row crop, but livestock as well. I think that's both very vital aspects to our agriculture industry here across the county. But also a very big believer in private property rights, giving people the chance to do what they want with their own private property. With that, I think looking at these regulations on a countywide level, sometimes there's things that happen that create unintended consequences when you're looking at setting regulations based on a certain project or certain concept in mind. We need to look at the whole county when we are addressing the K-Junction solar project later on during that process as the policies are set up. One example of these unintended consequences, I believe, was from one of the last county commissioner meetings where you added that, it was mentioned the 1% limit on renewable energy. That specifically said renewable energy, it didn't say solar panels. So that would, in my mind, also apply to potentially ethanol, soy biodiesel. I'm assuming it was trying to incorporate potential future addition of wind power, some other things when that comment was brought up. So things like that, making sure the language is what needs to be, looking at the setback language without looking at some of those additional details. There could be some things that get into the regulation that may have other intended consequences when we're looking down the line, preventing industrial projects that may not have been part of the intent if it was their property, a large company that, like Lisa had mentioned, that may come to the county that wants to do something on their own land. If it's outside of municipal jurisdiction, does this hamper that as well? So just kind of thinking through all those additional details when you're utilizing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Good evening, York County Commissioners. My name is Jonathan Jank, and I serve as the President and CEO for the Seward County Chamber and Development Partnership. The organization is the sole combined Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development organization in Seward County, with a standing membership of approximately 280 public and private sector business partners. I'm an active member of the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce, the Nebraska Economic Developers Association, and a past president of the Nebraska Chambers Association. I'd like to go on record and provide neutral testimony about your proposed solar project zoning regulation changes. I'd like to share some of our experience from approving a solar project in Seward County that will hopefully help provide insight to inform your decision-making process on this important topic. In 2022, I was contacted by Bruce Vitosh, General Manager and CEO with Norris Public Power District, to try and identify a potential location for a small-scale solar project in Seward County. In 2023, the project was approved. In Seward County, we worked to create zoning regulations that encourage and allow for development, all while having in mind the best interests of the public. When Seward County had the opportunity to install a solar project, it was received positively by our appointed and elected officials. The only condition of the conditional use permit that was added by the commissioners was to provide notation of escrow with the Register of Deeds. This was because of pending solar regulation updates coming. The commissioners reviewed the 14 findings of facts and concluded that the facts fit within the zoning regulations of Seward County. There was unanimous approval for the project at the Planning Commission and County Commissioners meetings to move the project forward. After this project, a moratorium was placed on renewable energy project development in Seward County to analyze future opportunities and how they best integrate into appropriate areas. Although this was a small solar project in Seward County, We are currently working with a company to build a 700-acre solar development project. Regardless of the size and scope, the importance of a welcoming spirit for growth remains the same. Part of this welcoming spirit includes having regulations that increase openness for future further solar development projects in Seward County. The reason I am here tonight is because what happens in York County affects not just York County, but all of Nebraska. Having a welcoming spirit for growth, particularly around energy generation, is a critical part of our state's future success. Nebraska is currently working to grow their energy generation because we are running out of available electric capacity to support business development in the future. York County's willingness to allow for future energy generation will positively impact the growth opportunities that our state is able to compete for. With that, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you, John.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Janice Smallhoff, and I'm a member of OPPD's Board of Directors. I represent District 7. I'm on the north end of OPPD's 13-county service area. And District 7 includes parts of Douglas and Sarpy counties, but also Saunders, Colfax, Dodge, Washington, and Burke counties. I'm a retired Army colonel and a career nurse. I've served rural Nebraska communities through elected office since 2013. My husband and I live in Ashland, where I've served on the city council and in other roles. As an elected official representing primarily rural areas, I want to express my appreciation for the many difficult decisions that we must make. The issues we face are not always straightforward, and we must carefully consider the evidence and various opinions when determining the best path forward. But our constituents hold their freedom and private property rights dear. They desire economic growth that will result in vibrant and healthy communities. I believe we all share that common goal. Therefore, we must allow willing landowners to use their property in a way that benefits the entire county. Imposing excessive restrictions on these landowners would undermine their freedoms and could jeopardize a significant opportunity for York County. OPPD and the entire state of Nebraska are experiencing a significant increase in demand for electricity. To address this need, it is crucial to generate electricity from different sources and in different locations. The key to ensuring reliability and sustainability is diversification in the generation and location of assets. I want to propose that we can support each other in this matter. As an experienced member of OPPD's Board of Directors for over 5 years, I can assure you that our team holds high regard for the values of service and collaboration. We are committed to listening to the public's concerns about this project, responding to any questions, finding feasible solutions, and cooperating with everyone to the best of our abilities, as we did in Saunders County. With this project, we have already demonstrated our willingness to adopt this approach. With reasonable and not overly burdensome regulations, York County can signal to the rest of the state that it is open for business. As someone who lives in and loves rural Nebraska, I urge you not to miss this opportunity, and thank you for allowing me to speak this evening.
Thank you.
My name is Dean Bloom, 418 Road S, McCool. I guess I'm a little confused about this deal. I'm hearing how good it is. How many $50-some million coming to the county? It's like OPPD's got this golden goose, but they don't want it. They want to give it to us. Maybe Omaha, maybe the county's got so much money they don't need all this. It's pretty generous of them to give it to us, but it don't make sense to me. You got something worth that kind of money, you're going to bring in that kind of revenue, aren't you going to keep it in your own county? I don't know.
Thank you, Dean.
My name is Brooklyn Swantek, and my husband and I live at 215 Road I in McCool Junction. We just purchased an acreage 2 months ago, knowing that our home sits in the middle of a 2,800 acre proposed K-Junction project. But we both grew up in McCool and want to raise a family there, especially in the Hayes Township, due to the close proximity to our families and the landscape of the land versus other townships. While the last thing we want is to live among a solar farm and feel that no amount of money could change our mind, my intent is not to get up here and discuss the many reasons we're not supportive of the project, but instead to stress the weight of the upcoming decisions you all have regarding solar regulation and the setbacks in York County. This is not about the K-Junction project. This is about York County and its both current proposed and future projects. Reducing setbacks that were approved in a 3-2 vote earlier this year could allow our county to become one of the largest solar farms in the nation. While there is varying information available online, one of the largest solar farms in the U.S. currently consists of 4,600 acres. These acres are in the Mojave Desert, some of the most invaluable land in the nation, not the most valuable. My main concern is that solar technology is in its infancy, and further research needs to be conducted to truly determine the impact it has, both positive and negative. While I understand the need to diversify our energy portfolio, reducing setbacks would not only put York County on the list of the top 10 largest solar farms in the nation, but it could be the catalyst for future projects in our county before we even know if the technology is safe, reliable, and efficient. We know what expected yields are for a given piece of ground. We can make informed decisions based on factual numbers and can manipulate different variables to become more profitable. We don't know any exact numbers with solar, just computer-generated predictions and models. This is a time where we need to protect our most valuable assets and could potentially consider modifying zoning regulations down the road if solar does prove to be a valuable resource to our county. Currently, our most valuable resource is our ag land, and we must continue to protect that. I want to thank you guys for all the work you've done and will continue to do on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Brooklyn.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Joe Lang. I'm the Director of Generation Origination at OPPD. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I thank you all individually for the time and effort you put into determining a reasonable outcome. At OPPD, public engagement is an integral part to our public power promise. Nebraska's unique public power system allows the community to provide input, and we are committed to working with the community to ensure that everyone's opinions are respected. Our work with the community has shown that we strive to be a trustworthy partner and value the opinions of everyone involved. Generating reliable, affordable, sustainable electricity is a complex endeavor. With unprecedented new demand, OPPD must have enough generation and capacity to meet its own customers' peak energy use, plus 15% reserve margin required by the Southwest Power Pool. The SPP is a regional organization spread over 14 states whose members include OPPD and NPPD. The reserve margin is designed to ensure grid reliability during equipment maintenance and activities of extreme weather. The need for diverse energy generation became even more apparent during the Winter Storm Uri of January earlier this year. While some parts of generation supply were out of service due to weather, others, including natural gas, wind, and solar, stepped in to help deliver reliable electricity to customers without any interruptions. That's why we're broadening our portfolio with many sources, including new natural gas facilities and battery storage, to help communities. To respect your time and the time of our hardworking farmers and property owners, numerous residents have chosen to submit signed letters that include comments and support for reasonable regulations, which you have, with topics such as constitutionally protected landowner rights, vast economic opportunities, including diverse streams of revenue for landowners, the county, and future generations. Rights as a cattle producer and safe solar development that has proven not to affect temperatures outside their perimeter, and legal ramifications of passing zoning setbacks regulations that do not serve a legitimate purpose. In closing, I'd like to say that we deeply value the perspectives of the residents in York County. I'd like to work with you all on an amicable solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Hi, my name is Kathy Epp. I live at 509 Road I, and they want to put a big solar field southeast of my property. Now, I am not from Nebraska. I was born and raised on the island of Haiti, a Caribbean, palm trees, oceans. I married my husband. He's a farmer. Not what I wanted to do with my life. He put me on a farm. He said, "You're gonna love it." I said, "I am? Yes. I happen to be allergic to everything my husband grows. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love my farm. I love my property. I love standing out on my porch and looking out and seeing the absolute beauty, the green that I can see, and the deer, and even the raccoons and the rabbits that eat my green bean plants. Folks, there is more to life than sticking these solar fields all over a beautiful state like Nebraska. Even though people say Nebraska is a flyover state, no, it's not. We have some absolutely beautiful pieces of ground in Nebraska, and we need to enjoy them, and we need to let our children enjoy them. Because I don't want to wake up some morning after a gigantic hailstorm like we've had and look out to the southeast of my property and see all those damaged panels. That's what I fear. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Ray White, McCool Junction, 1306 Road 2. I'm just about a quarter mile outside the beaten zone. The last time I spoke, I would hope that you guys had asked the questions that I had asked. We need to know, I might consider, supporting the relaxed setbacks if I knew for sure that these solar panels were being produced in the United States, or at least in a friendly country. These solar panels stand about a 92% chance of being produced in communist China by Uyghur slaves. So is that what we want? Do we want, I mean, if we're gonna have these things, let's make sure they're sourced, they're produced in the United States. Collins Aerospace, put your money out there. Let's start building these things here. We've already got enough Chinese junk. My phone's Chinese junk, this microphone's Chinese junk, this podium is probably Chinese junk. So here we are talking about covering up the finest part of this country with Chinese stuff. Do we really want that? Think about that. And like she said, with the hailstorms, a tornado that literally traversed that exact spot, come through from Abby Cleaver's to my place, demolished her place and demolished a good chunk of mine. All of those solar panels would have been flying debris and junk all over this county. Literally. So that's really all I had to say. Let's think about this. Let's make sure that these solar panels have come to support the United States in every way. I served 23 years in this. I can't count the colonel over there, but I served 23 years as 3 wars, 3 shooting wars. I didn't go do all that to come back, step out on my front porch, and look at communist China. Literally, a quarter mile away. That's all I have.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
Barry Hybrid from Gresham. Opposite side of the county is McCool. And nobody's talked about the economic development from grain produced on 6,000 acres. It's like each dollar produces 7 times its value in the county for economic development, which would be about 15 million a year. Therefore, over 40 years, we'd get 600 million of economic development from the county. And I believe in property rights. I'm not putting anybody down that wants to sign up for that, but also the property taxes. I talked to the assessor this morning and he said that those acres will be figured on a square foot basis, not acre basis, when property taxes are taxed on the property. So you don't really know how many taxes you're going to end up paying for this property being. It's going to be commercial property, not farm property. And another thing, this last guy was just talking about who's going to clean up if we have a hailstorm and all of chemicals and glass gets washed down to the creeks. Is the county going to be spending money to clean up all that stuff? And I just heard LES has taken down 2 windmill generators of electricity that's been there for 25 years. I didn't hear why they're taking them down, but they said they're done with them. Also, cities are growing and taking over more farmland, which this would be taking over farmland. And it sounds like York County won't be getting any of the electricities from this solar farm. Also, I think the board of directors and management of OPPD is not doing a very good job. They shut down several power plants and not really looking forward to the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Doug Smith, live 619 Road Q in McFadden, lifelong resident of that residence. I've tried to stay neutral on this whole project. I respect the people that signed up for the farmland. My trouble is the community of McCool Junction itself. Nobody's really talked about that. What will happen to McCool? We talk about jobs. When this thing's built, I don't see any jobs in York County for this thing. It'll be controlled in Omaha, and somebody will stop through and look at it when they get a chance. How many jobs do you think, questions to ask yourselves when this is all said and done? How many jobs do you think the Lustion Farmers Cooperative branch will need when this is over? How many jobs will the McCool branch need? How many tractor parts are they going to buy? How much diesel fuel will they need to take care of this ground? I've worked all these jobs. How many boots are they going to need to walk this ground? The fact is, this will be a negative employment opportunity for the County of York. I hope you can see that, because I don't know what happened to McCool. There will never be another new house built in Hayes Township in my children's lifetime. Nobody's going to build them like this. It's like Gary said, people are going to move away. I hope you take these things into consideration before we approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ken Reel, 201 Road L, McCool Junction, representing our family business and my parents' place, home place. I guarantee you there's nobody in this building that spent any more time with the shadows of that substation and working under those power lines than myself. We feed cattle, we operate many of our day-to-day businesses underneath these power lines. I've got friends and family members that are, like myself, that are against this project. When the EDF started coming out of the woodwork and we started talking 3 years ago, it's an unbelievable feeling when these things come around. I respect you guys that are in the military. I have no idea what it would feel like to be out in the middle of the brush and you've got bullets coming at you and just trying to figure out where the bullets are coming from. You know, who's funding this? What's supporting all this? And we finally figured out it's not a power company, it's a private developer, and the neighbors started talking who signed and who they didn't, and there's just so many emotions involving these projects when they come in their community. And McCool is a very tight-knit community. It used to be. And we're going to talk about everything about OPPD. Everything that we do is money. Everything is about 100% money. If it wasn't for the subsidies, they wouldn't be here. Farming, I wouldn't be farming if we couldn't make a little money and try to keep advancing forward. But there's so much more to life than that. 100% support the regulations that come out of our zoning and planning committee. Those guys put a lot of work into it. We've got such a youth resurgence in Hayes Township. It's just like several talked about. We've got 7, 8 young families coming back. We have never had that in my lifetime. And this will certainly curtail any future activity. Just a couple thoughts. Zoning should not be a big issue at all if a project was responsibly placed instead of trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. If a desert field, if a solar field was built in a wide open area, that's more suitable for something like that or to scale. But, if this were to come to completion, to our fine friends at OPPD, there is probably 30 to 40 good candidates that would love to serve on your board of directors. So just let us know when you guys are ready to do that. But so thank you for your hard work, commissioners. Thank you for representing the 17 county plates and the residents of York County, not the 6-digit plates, not the special interest groups. So thank you,
Thanks,
commissioners.
Ken. Need help?
Probably. Just half there. Just half there. That's it. Okay, Willard Peterson, I'm from Bradshaw, Nebraska. And again, I stand up here, I've done that a lot. I was an educator for years, and I like to play the devil's advocate with some of my students because it's a way to make them think, or I thought it was. Anyway, I wasn't going to do that tonight, but I heard several things that maybe would lead me into that. There was a couple of things that was said that I hadn't thought of, sort of. One of the phrases was smoke and mirrors, as far as statistics, dollars and cents, how many people, how many this, how many that. I submit to you that smoke and mirrors works both ways. Everybody has an opinion, I understand that. Everybody is entitled to an opinion. But the numbers and what's going to do this or what's going to do that have never been anything that I have particularly paid attention to. Because if you look at both sides, mostly all you do is become more confused. A lot of people say, hey, yeah, this is what I'm going to base my thoughts on, and I'm not going to think of anything else. I can't do that. I've never been able to do that. I have literally read, and I think I figured out it's because AI and one of these things, I have literally read probably close to 200 articles on different aspects of solar here, solar there, solar whatever. I've read places where they were going to build solar in the desert and they stopped that dead cold because of something that was really special about that piece of desert. I have some relatives up in Wheeler County. Wheeler County has been in the middle of a huge fight up there, mostly over wind. And there were some of the evolution of the thought process I've heard through the start of this and whatever, is the fact that, you know, first it was foreign stuff, but it was just from the United States. Well, now we got stuff from the United States, even Nebraska now. We don't like that either. Up in Wheeler County, they made setbacks for wind generators 5 miles out in the sand hills. And they did it so simply there couldn't be any. Wouldn't make any sense. Now, from a lot of the thought process here, put them up in the sand hills. Put them up there. That ground isn't worth anything anyway. Don't say that to my relatives. And so it's a rock and a hard place. It really is. But who's trying to hurt who? Thanks.
Thank you, Willard.
My name is Kendra Johnson. I'm at 1118 Road 3. My home and my family will be impacted by the proposed K-Junction solar project. For the sake of my family and my neighbors, I want to voice support for the work of the zoning board and ask that you keep their existing setbacks. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendra.
Grant Jackson, 913 Road 3, Cool Junction. First off, I'd like to know if there's any wildlife or environmental impact studies done. Hopefully, if there are, they were given to you to review, because I think that's being vastly overlooked, is the impact it'll have on wildlife and the environment in the local area. When OPPD was asked about noise and temperature at a recent board meeting, they didn't seem to have the data. They were Googling on their phones, looking up Google articles. If you're gonna have a project, you'd think you'd have that stuff ready for people to review. 660 feet, far enough away for people, but livestock needs to be 1,000 feet away. That doesn't make sense to me. This area is zoned ag. If it's going to stay zoned ag, it should have the same setbacks as regular ag has. You don't see confinement buildings, stuff like that in the city. I think this should take place here as well. They can always get more land or find more remote areas or go somewhere with lesser stress. They're paying the leases for their land. I'm guessing if that setback gets bigger, they take that out of the lease. So to me, if you're paying for the land and there's no zoning in place, why should we say what you think, or accept what you tell us the zoning should be? Sorry, I'm rambling here a little bit. I'm a little flustered too. We don't need these outside entities and individuals deciding for us. There's never been a design or anything shared with anybody that I'm aware of. A project like this, you think they'd have a design to show you what the layout would be. There's no decommissioning shared as well. The original project was supposed to be 5,000 acres. Now it's 2,800. But the dollars haven't changed. So what happened to those other 2,200 acres? But all the dollars they're promising remain the same. To that point, they claim they won't sell the project. If they don't sell the project, none of these tax dollars they're promising to the area come here.
on their website the very same day, it said they will do what's best for their clients. So their only interest is for their clients, not for this community where it impacts us. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. And I ask that you support the zoning board's.
Thank you, Grant.
I wasn't going to state, but this is Dale Epp from, I'm 1320 18th Street, Henderson, Nebraska. This will affect my property, at least close to it. And my questions, I thank you, board, for what you've done for the commissioners. My questions basically go to NPPD, OPPD. Well, they haven't answered some questions, the Omaha Public Power District. The last meeting we had in McCool, I asked them how much government funds are coming into their coffers to make this project possible. They admitted there were funds coming in, but no one would tell me what amount. I think without the government subsidy, there's no way they can build it, because it's not profitable on its own. And to allow projects to go forward that aren't profitable on its own, if I did that with my farming, I'd have long been done. You have to make a profit. And then the other question I have, where will the minerals for these solar panels be mined at? How much environmental damage will be done in the third world countries that provide these solar panels for our clean energy? Where will the solar panels be manufactured? Will they be manufactured using slave labor in China? How much energy will be required to manufacture, transport, and install those panels? And how many years will these need to operate to replace that energy? How many tons of copper are going to be required to wire everything up? And then, should a storm come along and these get damaged, and the toxic chemicals that are within these panels, I understand you can't put them in a landfill. Where are they going to go? There's silver in them, there's other toxic chemicals in there, and it's going to be a real pain. And nobody's talked about the cost of cleaning a system like this up if some storm should happen. Those are the questions that I got that I'd like answered.
Thank you, Dale. Anybody else tonight? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else get up, so at this point in time, we will close the public hearing for the proposed regulations. As you see, whether you paid attention or not, there was an agenda that is not on to be talked about tonight. The commissioners will take this information along with other information they've gotten before. And as you all know, at our last month, we also brought on Marvin Consulting Firm to help us with our comp plan. And they have looked and reviewed and in the process of getting us some information too. Some opinions. So at this point in time, board, unless you have anything else, I will adjourn the meeting and you will hear more from us in the future. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.